This is the OFN today on the Orlads Football Network. Finally, we can put to bed what was the 2020 NFL season. And last week, Ryan, we were kind of forecasting how the end story was going to be, and how if it was a blowout, which actually the other team wound up blowing the other team out. But if it was a blowout, how that would have made the season appear, in a hole. Or if it would have been a fantastic, unbelievable Mahomes, Brady-esque, last-minute touchdown, how that could have represented what kind of a season it was. Unfortunately, we got the blowout. And you know what I say to the 2020 NFL season? Good riddance.
Not me. Not me. It's I think everybody who says good reading in 2 weeks will be like missing the NFL. You know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden you realize you got to watch NBA and NHL.
Oh no, I'm gonna be doing nothing but draft talk and free agency. That's taking up all my time.
Yeah. Talk season is fun. I like speculating trades and draft picks and opinion season. It's fun, but nothing beats the games for me. I'm sad to see it go. I'm impressed they got every game in. Would have liked to see a better Super Bowl. I think on this show I told you I was expecting a all-time great game, and I didn't get that, obviously. I picked the Bucks, and I got that right because exactly what I thought would be the difference in the game was the difference in the game. The Chiefs could not block the Bucks, and people forget that no matter what in football, no matter all the speedy receivers and the great quarterbacks, if you can pressure the passer with four guys, we saw the Giants do it to Tom Brady with Strahan and Tuck and Umanura, and 14 years later we saw the Bucks do it to the Mahomes with Sue and Barrett and JPP. If you can pressure the quarterback with four guys and drop the other seven guys into coverage, you're going to have your defense is going to really succeed no matter how good the quarterback is.
Yeah, there's no doubt that was the biggest factor in the game. But there was also a lot of other factors. And that includes, and say what you want about, of course, if you're on the side of Tampa Bay, they were good calls. If you're on the side of the Chiefs, we got ripped off. But I don't want to see that many flags anyway. We've talked about that before. I mean, we even talked about how that last call in the Green Bay-Tampa Bay game, should that have been called? So I just thought there were too many flags, and it all went against. Let's put it this way: I think the Chiefs were one more flag and a big play away from me going, this is like the Pittsburgh-Seattle Super Bowl all over again, where it was like a terrible Super Bowl. Pittsburgh had no right winning the game, in my mind, because every call went against Seattle, and every big play went against Seattle because of the calls. I hated that game. But it's still, that was just one aspect. Throw in the fact that every time Patrick Mahomes did throw the ball on target, the Chiefs couldn't catch the ball all of a sudden. I sensed something bad a few days before the Super Bowl when Andy Reid's son got into the accident, because how many times do we see it? Anytime there's a big negative story against a team in the Super Bowl and Super Bowl week, that team always loses. Always loses. And I know it didn't distract the players, but it distracted the coach. And that's never good at that. It just couldn't have been a good thing. Vibe for the team. And then just the way the Chiefs played. Didn't it just seem to you, like, even in the first two drives when the Bucks weren't doing nothing and the Chiefs weren't doing nothing, it was just, I don't know. It just seemed like I was actually expecting the Chiefs to feel more confident about themselves. They just didn't look confident from the get-go. They just looked flat. I don't know what it was.
So there's a lot there for me. I'm going to start with the accident. Obviously, I think both of us, our thoughts and prayers go out to the child who's in. The story is obviously a national story because of its ties to the Reed family and the Chiefs. But obviously, the important thing is the little child's health, and so obviously that's where focus and prayers and thoughts should be. Not, it's not about the Reed family; it's about that other family. No
Yep.
one even knows their name. So, but yes, I do think that had a Andy Reid's a human being. I would think that his son's possible, legal fate and his thoughts to the girl's family, I'm sure were on his mind. I'm sure that made it hard to coach. I'm sure he wasn't as sharp mentally as he would have been in a Super Bowl. From a Chiefs standpoint, I think it was shocking because even when we've seen the Chiefs lose shootouts like they lost to Brady in the AFC Championship game a couple years ago. When they fall behind, we've seen them rally like they did throughout the playoffs last year. We haven't really seen the Chiefs get their ass kicked.
Yes.
And that's what it was. We just never see that.
Sure. Yeah.
You even saw the Brady Patriots get their asses kicked sometimes. You have not seen the Chiefs in 3 years get their ass kicked. So there was a stunning factor to it, to the audience and to the players. You said, doesn't it seem like they were not that injured? I think they were stunned. I think they couldn't believe it. I think there was a bit of this too. The Chiefs said, we're going to play our way regardless of the opponent. And you can't do that in football. Coaches like to laugh about halftime adjustments, and the reason they say that is because they adjust throughout the game. The Chiefs didn't adjust at all.
No.
The Chiefs said, we play where, we run the ball sometimes, but we mostly throw the ball deep. We get chunk plays, and the Bucs were willing to give you the 5 or 6 yard completion, and they weren't taking it.
They should have saw that after the first drive or two. They should have been able to pick that up.
They refused to back off the way they played. And now let me say something else that I think is not something a lot of people say. First off, Patrick Mahomes obviously was not the same player as the game went on. His toe clearly was bothering him. It was clearly an injury that, had hampered him. But like he said, he played well on it 2 weeks ago. So it's hard to use it as an excuse in the Super Bowl. What he was doing in that game was making it worse.
You mean the way he was running out of...
It was... look, his offensive line failed him.
Sure.
Point the finger at the offensive line. But he was doing them no favors with the run around. The stat is 498 yards he ran before he threw the ball. That is absurd. Yeah. He was not doing them any favors by running around like a playground kid.
Yep.
Left, right, circles, go to this side of the field, go to that side of the field, dart. Did he have to do that to a degree? Yes, because there wasn't just one guy coming unblocked. There was more than one guy coming unblocked. Did he exaggerate that? Yes, I think Patrick Mahomes fell into a trap where he is used to all his crazy highlight plays come from running around in circles and breaking a tackle and throwing the ball at a 35-degree angle. He's so used to being able to do these magician things that he actually, I thought, forced some of the magician things. Like he almost wanted to maybe look like a magician more than he had to. Like when your offensive line is failing you, what you should do is throw quick slants.
Sure.
So they have to block left.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you would have thought that should have been 2 weeks to prepare with the offensive tackle situation, and you would have thought that Andy Reid would have had that type of strategy.
Yeah, you should throw quick slants. You should not run left, circle around, run right, run backwards 10 yards, come to the left, cut, and hold the ball for 45 seconds. Like that is not what you should do. You do that when you have to do that.
Yeah.
It seemed like he was doing that by design. I actually thought, and again, I get it. His toe hurt, the line failed him, but I actually thought Patrick Mahomes hurt his team with that style of play that usually saves his team.
And then also, it was after the first couple of series of doing nothing, they finally decide to start running the football. They're running the football pretty decently. I mean, Edwards-Helaire was running the ball really well, and it was like, yeah, but that's not us. We're gonna throw the football. That's what we do, and it was just bad. It's just bad. It was whether it's ego, whether it's not being able to, maybe it's the difference between Andy Reid being a very good coach or being an elite coach. I don't know, but that's the type of football that we have seen far too much of over the last few years from the greatest coaches we have today, from the Paytons to the Reeds and so forth. They get so enamored with the passing game, they just give up on the running game. And I don't know how many times do I have to say it about the Chiefs. The Chiefs, if you beat the Chiefs, you got to stop them from running the football. If you do that, you're going to beat the Chiefs. And when the Chiefs are one-dimensional and all they want to do is throw the football, they are beatable.
Yep. So I just thought one other thing I thought was interesting in that game. Let's touch on this, Greg. 14-6. I'm a big strategy guy. 14-6 late in the second quarter. Did you like Andy Reid and the Chiefs calling the timeouts there to try to get the ball back?
No.
Because they end up extending the clock.
No, I hate that.
Did you hate it in the moment, or do you hate it because the Bucs scored a touchdown?
No, I always hate that. It's usually too because again, I guess it depends on what's going on in the game and how both teams are playing.
Yeah. So let's keep it to this right there, 14-6, trying to get the ball back. Do you like it or no?
No, because you have just played an awful half of football. I want to go back in and just, you know what, 8 points. That's okay. That's one score. Let's just get the hell out of here and regroup and get back on the field with an 8-point deficit.
I thought it was a disaster, and it goes against what I like. If you listen to this podcast this year, you know I like aggressive coaching.
And Andy Reid's aggressive.
And I thought that was and that is where you cannot be aggressive. I was screaming at the TV there. Like, that was to me another example of we play how we play and forget we're going to ignore the opponent and we're going to ignore the situation. Like you said, going down 8 after a terrible half of football is fine. If you're the Chiefs there, you have to know if we give up a first down, they're not going to. Bruce Arians isn't going to take a knee. No. As soon as we give them a first down, Bruce Arians is going to attack them.
Yes.
So you have to realize who you're playing. You have to realize what they did last week with Scotty Miller against the Packers. So you have to realize the risk of calling those timeouts is that they're going to do what they did and throw the ball deep to Mike Evans on the very next play after they get a first down. So you have to realize that it was just another situation of like, we're the Chiefs. We're going to call timeout. We're going to get the ball back, and we're going to kick a field goal, and we're going to go in down 14-9. That's fine in the regular season when you're playing the Texans. In the Super Bowl, you have to realize you're not moving the ball. Don't worry about the stupid field goal. There's more risk than reward there. I thought the timeouts at the end of the half were very foolish, and it bit them. I thought that drive. I thought that was the end of the game right there. That drive.
And you talked a lot about this towards the last few shows, the Kansas City, and how a lot of people have kind of not realized what this run has been like for the past 2 years and what potentially winning the Super Bowl could do for the history of this 2-year run. And to lose it in that fashion was not just a loss where you lose in the last seconds and maybe you can come back again in the next year or two, get another Super Bowl, and you're still within that dynasty kind of run. You lose a game like that. And what did we say last year about the Niners? You lose a Super Bowl is one thing. Now you lose a Super Bowl in that fashion. I'm going to be very interested to see how the Chiefs rebound next season.
Yeah, I look.
And I'm not talking about winning games in the regular season. I'm talking about winning big games in the postseason again.
I know that was your big theme in the offseason last year. I'm not sure that 49ers would have been, I would have liked to see the 49ers healthy. I'm not a big...
but that's the point, is that you have to take advantage because you are going to have injuries. Things are going to happen that they're so normal. Look what just happened. Patrick Mahomes was lucky he didn't get injured for a very long time a few weeks ago. How do we know that's not going to happen week 1 in 2021? So,
Yeah. If they're injured, then all bets are off. But just because they lost the Super Bowl, I think they'll be one of the 3 best teams in the AFC again next year. And they'll probably be in the AFC Championship game next year as long as Patrick Mahomes is healthy.
Yeah,
So,
I guess my point is just to me puts a little bit of a they were this close to win one game and to be looked upon as one of the greatest teams maybe in the NFL. Let's start comparing them. And
I
now
agree.
it's like, oh, they're just a one-year Super Bowl team. Let's see what happens the next couple of years. But as of right now, no, they're just that was it, 1 year.
Right now, they're the greatest show on turf. They won one Super Bowl and lost
Yes,
another.
that's exactly how they are. That's a very good comparison to the St. Louis Rams and what they did back-to-back years and not winning, 2 Super Bowls when they could have. And that doesn't mean the Chiefs won't come back, but again, just look what happened to their tackles. So you would have to think that the Chiefs in the offseason and the draft are going to be like all offensive line. We got to get as many guys on this because there's still their defense played better than I've seen this season in years.
They could use a corner.
Oh yeah, no question. But
they could use a corner and some offensive linemen. But the most of the pieces are in place. That both teams really, the Bucks and the Chiefs, don't have a ton of draft free agency needs. I mean, they're both pretty well positioned. The Chiefs had more offseason questions last year. They had to extend Mahomes. They had to re-sign Chris Jones. They had to extend Travis Kelce. Were they going to lose Bieniemy? They're pretty much, both teams are set up to pretty much be the same exact makeup next year.
Well, as far as the Bucks, though, you have several players you got to find out about: Antonio Brown, Leonard Fournette. Then the age of Brady, the age of Gronk. Godwin's gone. Shaq Barrett's gone.
No way. Absolutely not. You have a franchise tag. You're keeping at least one of those two guys. And then you probably are going to re-sign the other. I would bet Godwin and Barrett are both back. But certainly one of them. You're going to franchise tag either Godwin or Barrett. Probably Godwin. And I think Barrett will probably get a long-term deal to stay. Antonio Brown's probably gone. Who cares?
Levante David's gone.
I don't know if that's
true. They
can't
afford all these guys. I haven't looked at the cap, but they're not in great cap space.
They've got $36 million in cap space. Leonard Fournette.
They're top 10 in cap space?
Yeah. They're in really good shape.
All right.
Leonard Fournette's probably gone, and Antonio Brown's probably gone. Snooze. Whatever. I think David will be back. Barrett will be back, and Godwin will be back, and those are the three big guys.
David's gonna. You got one. Well, I have a Tampa Bay analyst. I'll bring him on in the next week. I definitely have to find out more about all of their contract, but I can't imagine they're going to be able to hold on to 80% of their key guys. I don't. You know how it is in the NFL. These guys are always poached.
I'll take that bet.
So you think 80% of their main guys will be back?
Well, I mean, what's 80%? I'm looking at it right now. Barrett, David, Gronk, Fournette, and Godwin. So that's Barrett, David, Gronk, Fournette,
David.
And
yeah,
Godwin.
You said David. Who else then?
Godwin. Those 5 guys. Barrett, David, Gronk.
How is their offensive line?
Fournette and Godwin. So if you're telling me those 5 guys, I'll tell you at least. Yeah, I'll say 4 of them are back. Yep, I'll say 4 of them are back. 80%. I'm not counting Antonio Brown. He's gone. So.
Yeah, I mean, okay, yeah. I mean, that's.
I'll say 4 of those 5 are back for them. Yep, I'll say 4 of those 5 are back. So, I'd be interested what your Tampa Bay analyst says. I think they're going to look very.
I think if one guy has to go, I think it's, David is just he's got his last big contract. He's got to get as much money out of it as he can.
If one guy goes, I agree it would be him. I think they're going to tag Godwin and give Barrett the multi-year extension. David, I could see going, yes.
Yeah, because David had his okay. So let's see, Brady. What he signed a 2-year, $50 million deal.
Yeah, Brady's there.
And
Gronk will come back.
I don't know if
So
the left tackle. I forget whether or not whether that kid Smith
Donovan
signed a big
Smith,
deal or
he's
not.
he's there. He's there. He's got a big deal. He's there. Wirfs is a rookie. Yep, they're fine. I'm telling you, they're fine.
All right. Well, the biggest thing also is age
Oh, that's different. Yep.
because Brady and Gronk, they are.
JPP. Yep,
Yeah,
I agree.
JPP. I don't know what his contract is like either.
He's got another
Is he a free
one more
agent?
year.
One more
Nope, one
year.
more year. Yep.
So it'll be interesting too to see about because Brady has given, of course, no indication that he's done.
No, he gave the opposite indication. He's coming back. So.
Brady has at this point in time. I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, I kind of felt this way 7 years ago when the comparisons were on between Brady and Manning. I was just always, don't give me Manning, okay? Manning's great, great player, no question, but I'm sorry. And then everybody, of course, wants to compare. Well, but Manning was with Belichick. And I'm sorry, but I know you can do that. And I'm not saying Manning wouldn't have won more Super Bowls that way, but Brady's just a different player than Manning. And Brady's a different player than everybody. And I think he's proven that. I don't really get into this GOAT thing, but the fact is, I think Brady might have just cemented himself as maybe he's right now got to be top 3 athletes of all time.
I think you nailed it. I think that's what this Super Bowl with a new team, the MVP, the COVID year, everything he did this year took him from the greatest quarterback of all time, which I think he already was. I think most people agree he already was. He had passed Montana and Elway, Peyton. It took him from the greatest quarterback of all time to greatest athlete conversation with Ali, with Michael Jordan. I think that's what this Super Bowl did for him. It's no longer debatable greatest quarterback of all time. He is now in the greatest athlete
Yes.
of all time pantheon.
Yeah, I would. And if we're only talking about
Gretzky.
if we're talking about the 4 major sports only, the ones for me, maybe you just said it right there. Maybe we're talking Gretzky, Jordan, and Tom Brady.
Yeah, I think I was not alive, but you put in Muhammad Ali when you start, when you
We're
expand
going and
beyond
expanding, yeah.
yeah.
But if it's just
When you
the
talk about
main
the five
sports,
or
the
so,
top 4, who would you put? Who would you put number 1 in baseball? Is there a really number 1? Because I don't really know if there is. There's a lot of debate.
It's hard because pitching is like its own sport compared to hitting, so
Who
it's
would be one of
very
your top
hard.
pitchers?
It's very hard to compare them. Is there an all-time great I mean, Babe Ruth's like a mythical
Yeah,
figure.
it's like, but yeah, I know.
But that's 100 years
I
ago.
know. It's got
Um,
to be something within the last, 40, 50 years.
Willie Mays might be the greatest baseball player of all time. He might be. That's probably
Yeah, so I think
Willie
that's
Mays.
why baseball, if we're talking top 3, I don't think baseball, I think we could say
Yeah, baseball
Gretzky,
doesn't have,
Jordan, and Brady.
yeah, baseball doesn't have a guy like that.
Yeah.
I agreed. There's too many differences because you start talking hitting for power, defense, pitching.
Yeah.
It's such a different sport.
Yep. And also, not a surprise about bad ratings. And yeah, sure, was it affected a little bit by the blowout? No question. Every blowout in the Super Bowl is going to be affected. But sorry, the ratings were going to be down anyway. And I think this proved more of my point. I think everybody's talking about, well, yeah, but the ratings are down for all of these sports because, well, there's just more important things going on in everybody's lives. Okay, but you can't say that now for the Super Bowl. Nobody's doing anything
Yeah.
on Sunday
Yeah.
night. For everybody knows about the Super Bowl. So that's just proof that people have just been turned off by what's going on, not just politics, but just again, I can't even watch college basketball right now. I can't. I love college basketball, and I can't watch it. I can only watch my teams. I watch Michigan and Rutgers. That's it. And I even have a hard time watching that. I mean, it's just unwatchable with no fans. And then forget baseball. I couldn't even, the joke of a 60-game season. Just, I mean, LA Dodgers, please relax. You weren't anything special. Nobody's going to remember your 60-game World Series. That is the asterisk of asterisks. Nobody cares. So I think that's definitely a huge, huge main number one reason why people are not tuning in. And I can't wait for it to stop. It sickens me. Please, let's get back. And the whole normal society, people are dying. I get that. It's not about that. It's just about, I think by now, I hate the thing about, hey, 1 week we can't have anybody go to Buffalo Bill games. But 1 week later, we can have 10,000 fans or 6,000. What's the difference between the week before and the week after medically? Nothing. So it's so aggravating, and it has to stop. I hope by the time we get to week 1 of 21, it's back to as close to normal as we can get it. I hope, because I'm not even sure it's going to be.
I don't think it will be. No. Listening to people around the NFL this week, including Goodell, Demore Smith, the NFLPA president. No, I don't think it will be at all. I think you'll have fans in the stands in every stadium next year. I do not think you'll have capacity crowds everywhere.
And you know what? And I am completely fine with that for 21. If you want to put in a third of the stadium and spread everybody out, fine. I have no problem with that. And then 2022, we can get back to I'll even go 2 years from now and get to 75%. But just no fan stuff and 5,000 fans, it has to stop. It just has to.
I think you're looking at, possibly having to prove that you're vaccinated before you go in the stadium and whatnot. But I do think you'll have fans in the stands at every stadium next year. That's my early prediction. Yeah. But we'll see.
And by the way, getting back to Britt Reed, and we saw this with, who was it? The Rams, St. Louis Rams. They had that really good pass rusher who had like his third or fourth strike with drinking while driving. I forget who it was, but he was a really good pass rusher. And these are the things that bother me about this second and third and fourth chances. I think once you get past that second chance, that's it. I mean, I'm sorry, but you shouldn't be allowed to drive anymore. And this isn't going to change anything. But just imagine if this was, let's say if it was Andy Reid, let's say if it was a much bigger figure, one of the players, this would have been even that much. Because to tell you the truth, even though this is a national story, it really hasn't been blown up to the proportion that it could have been and maybe should have been. Because there's a real serious situation that I think the whole country is sick of.
I have no tolerance. Personally, in my personal life, I have no tolerance for DUIs.
Yep.
So I think you should lose your license after one, to be honest.
All right. Also, the Hall of Fame. You were strong with Baselli, Manning, and Woodson. So Baselli didn't even make it. Instead, Faneca made it as an offensive lineman over Baselli. Faneca was a very good football player. I get that. I don't know. I mean, I never thought that he would get in at this point over maybe Baselli or even a couple other guys that got in. But what do you think? How surprised were you?
I can't say, honestly, I can't say that I know great guard play. Yeah. I mean, like I can't.
You just got to give guys credit for the amount of times they've been on the AP, all pro teams, the Pro Bowls, the championships, the rushing titles, and all that stuff.
So Faneca was an all-decade team, 9 Pro Bowls and 6 All-Pros. Whereas Baselli was all-decade team, 5 Pro Bowls and 3 All-Pros. So
Faneca probably had a longer career, right? Huh? Faneca, I think, had a longer career than Baselli, didn't he?
He did. Yep. So Faneca had the better. Faneca had the better career, the better longevity, the better markers. Baselli obviously plays a much harder position, especially in those days. Now you can make a case for guard versus, guard versus tackle. But yeah, Baselli only played I think 8 seasons.
Yeah, it was
Was at
short.
the
Yeah,
top of his
yeah.
was at the top of the game for a long time, kind of like Terrell Davis as a running back. I would have went Baselli, but no, I can't argue Faneca at all. I
And
think
John Lynch got in. He was on your finalist as well, but and I think John Lynch got in earlier because of what he's doing now. You know,
I agree with you
yeah,
100%. I think he had a Hall of Fame career as a player. I don't know that he was a like super early that he could have been in this quickly. He wasn't like a no doubt Hall of
yeah.
Famer. I think he hit the nail on the head because he has stayed around the game as an announcer and as a GM. He's at the top of everybody's wish list. They're all the reporters who vote, those 50 media members are still talking to John Lynch
Yep.
all the time
Yep.
in his role. He's in the forefront of their mind. So I think that absolutely 1,000% helped him.
Drew Pearson, who I remember him making a big show last year when he didn't make it, but he made it as a senior finalist this year. And Bill Nunn was a Steeler scout, so he made it, and Tom Flores. So what is
All
the
before
rule? The rule is 5 players max. Players then, right? And then a coach is
five
allowed to
mod,
get in?
five modern
A
era
modern,
players.
okay. And then how does Flores fit in?
The coaches are
Separate,
separately,
okay.
and senior nominees like Drew Pearson are
And
separate.
then what is the other thing they call it for Bill Nunn, the Steeler scout?
Contributors, I
Yeah,
think.
whatever. So Tom Flores. What'd you think about Tom Flores? Is that just okay? You win 2 Super Bowls, you're in the Hall.
Let me tell you what I think of Tom Flores, and this will take us into another very timely topic.
Okay.
So what? Bill, he won a Super Bowl. He won what? Two as a coach and one as a player, right? Tom Flores.
Okay.
I think that's what he won, right?
I know he won 2 as a coach.
And
What was he?
and
Was
I
he a
think he
Raider
won.
player?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so. Yeah. Um, but actually, he was a Raider player, but I think he won his Super Bowl with the Chiefs
Oh, okay.
when he was
Okay.
as a player. Anyway, my point being this. I don't know why he wasn't in before. Like he's before my era. Like I can't really understand why with that resume he wasn't in before. He seems like somebody who should have been elected in, when I was 12 years old in 1994. I don't really understand what took so long. So he absolutely should be in. He doesn't, but if you're going to tell me that it was he didn't coach long enough or his regular season wins, I think he had like 97 regular season
Yeah, he
wins.
wasn't around very
Okay.
long.
Okay. So the brevity of his career keeps him out, but then he gets in because of the postseason success. So he is the anti Marty Schottenheimer, and obviously condolences to the Schottenheimer family who Marty passed away today. I can speak about Marty Schottenheimer because I grew up with Marty Schottenheimer. I didn't, watching him. I mean, I didn't know him personally. I didn't grow up watching Tom Flores' teams. Marty Schottenheimer is the anti-Tom Flores, right? He never got his team to a Super Bowl, but he had 200 and something wins. He took 3 teams that, the Chargers are never good, and Marty Schottenheimer had them at the top of the league.
Yep.
The Chiefs from 1960 something until Patrick Mahomes arrived were never good, and Marty Schottenheimer had them at the top of the league. And the Browns are never good, and Marty Schottenheimer had them at the top of the league. So he didn't win with the Giants.
He had him in back-to-back championship games.
Yeah, he didn't win with the Giants or the Cowboys or the 49ers or the Steelers. He took 3 teams that are traditionally not very good when he's not there and got them to the AFC championship games. I think he had all 3 teams in the AFC, the Chargers, the Chiefs, and the Browns in the AFC championship game. 200 something regular season wins, and he, from talking to Hall of Fame voters, barely even gets mentioned in these meetings. I think that's a disgrace. I hope.
Why is that though? Is there somebody
I think it's the anti Tom Flores because he never won that Super Bowl, and the Hall of Fame starts with that's why Tom Flores got in because the Super Bowl.
Okay, so are there any head coaches that have made it to the Hall of Fame without winning a Super Bowl?
Good question. I don't know that off the top of my head, but I'm going to guess the answer is no.
Yeah, I would have to.
Uh,
Yeah, probably. Considering,
yes,
but that is a great.
but that doesn't mean he shouldn't be. I mean,
That's a
again,
great
that doesn't.
debate. Tom
Yeah,
Flores, Marty Schottenheimer.
and I would tell you that. So here's the list of who's in. Bill Walsh, yes. Don Shula, yes. Chuck Noll, yes. John Madden win a Super
Yes.
Bowl? He's in for as a contributor probably anyway. Lombardi, yes. Marv Levy, there you go. Marv Levy's in and didn't win a Super Bowl. So obviously got to those.
I think Schottenheimer's better than Levy. I think he has a better resume. I know Levy went to 5 straight Super Bowls, but I think it's a lot harder to do what Schottenheimer did.
Bud Grant, there's a guy, right?
Oh, yeah.
He went to he didn't win one, but he got to like 3 or 4,
he's
right?
Another, he's like Levy, yeah.
Yep. So there's no reason to me. I think Marty Schottenheimer. Look, I don't know the right way to say this, Greg. It's not silver lining. There's no silver lining to someone's death. But I hope that in his passing, it reawakens the debate about him as a Hall of Famer and maybe makes some people realize, this guy's reevaluate his resume and realize he's a Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah. All right. So, also, speaking of the Raiders, they had that 30 for 30 deep fake. And it's good that you kind of missed it because it was kind of silly. They were.
Was it on last night?
No, it was a few days ago. I don't remember when they did. It was probably during the week, last week, before the Super Bowl.
I was going to say, because if it's on at the same time as The Bachelor, you can count me out.
Okay. Well, then who knows? It might have been. So they did this.
If you want to start up a Bachelor podcast with me, Greg, let me.
I'll keep that in
I'm
mind.
dying to start now.
That won't be happening, but I'll think about it, or I'll if I hear whispers online of anyone looking for any hosts, analysts.
I'm their guy.
Okay. So Al Davis and Pete Rozelle. And I that's the part I liked about it because they went back and you get a lot of the footage of everything that they went through, Davis and Rozelle, and it was a very interesting retake on how Al Davis took advantage of the laws of the country and the freedom to take your business and to do whatever you want with it, basically, and it was right at that point in the time when you're growing up as a sports fan and you realized that sports is a business. And you can understand what Al Davis is doing. And if you're in Al Davis's shoes, you're doing exactly what Al Davis is doing, or at least you would want to. He's trying to do the best that he can for his team, and blah, blah, blah. But as a fan, it's like the worst thing in the world that these things happen, because that meant the Cleveland Browns are escaping to Baltimore. And, even the Jets moving from New York to New Jersey was a killer for me because I don't think the Jets ever got their identity back. All these teams that move. And then, of course, it was right around the time where free agency started to get big and all the other sports. And so in one hand, you kind of admire what Al Davis did. On the other hand, you were like, did you have to do that? It began, and it was inevitable that all this stuff would happen sooner or later, but still, it was the beginning of the end of the purist in you, in a sports fan, that just wanted to know that, hey, your team is going to be in your city and they're never going to move. And it's, it was a very interesting take on Rozelle and Davis, and a very important one for a lot of fans today that really didn't understand how it went down many years ago.
It's funny. I've actually, growing up where I've grown up here in New Jersey, I've never had to worry about that, right? No team ever leaves this area. But I've often thought, if you're let's not use Cleveland as an example because they have the new Cleveland Browns. But if you're a Houston Oilers fan, are you a Tennessee Titans fan until the Houston Texans come back? Or does your loyalty stay with them?
Well, I'm a Montreal Expo fan. And so my loyalty is moved to Washington, but I didn't live in Montreal, so that's a difference. I think there are a lot of Montreal fans that say no.
If you lived in, so right now you live in Oakland. Are you a Las Vegas Raiders fan, or do you feel betrayed by them? If you feel betrayed by them, do you then become a San Francisco 49ers fan? I assume you hated the
Yeah.
49ers when you were a Raiders fan. So what do you do? I've never really understood that. If your team moves, do you follow them because that's your team? Do you hate them because they left you? Do you then root for like the next closest geographical team who you probably hated growing up? Do you then become a fan of like some random, like, is your fanship for sale? Like,
Yeah.
do you become like the Dolphins,
Yeah.
are a fun team to root for? I've always found that fascinating, honestly, because it's never something I or anybody else I know have had to deal with. And I think I read a story on it a couple years ago when the Rams were in the Super Bowl, whether St. Louis was rooting for the Rams or not. I feel like the consensus from that story was that most people were rooting for them. But I think if I was there, I wouldn't. I would feel abandoned. I don't know if I would become a Chiefs fan just because, like, oh, I'm in Missouri, I'll root for the Chiefs. But I think I would have become a fan of whatever team, say 2 years ago. I think I might have said, okay, the Rams abandoned me. I'm done with the Rams. I'm going to become a insert okay, like the Browns have a lot of fun players. They've lost for a long time. I'm a Browns fan. I think that's what I would have done.
I think look, no question. You probably have to break the fandom down to, like about 5 categories when it comes to just diehard
Yeah.
of diehard. I will root for you no matter where you go, type of fan. To, hey, I like sports. Hey, they're my home team. I'll get behind them, kind of fan. So I think you
Yeah.
got to break it, and then that's where the percentages go. I would have to guess though that the top majority would follow their team.
I would
Even
not.
if it's just
Uh,
31%, and then the other categories are 29, 26, 22. That's how I would feel.
I would. I obviously I'm no longer really a fan, but if as a kid, I tell you, I would not have. I would have felt betrayed. I would have found a new team. That's just me.
And the other thing too is how much do you love the sport that you're following,
Yeah.
and do you feel like you have to have, hey, this is and that's why I say it's really diehard, because if you're like following the team and the scouting and the kids, how they've developed over years and all of this history, it's just almost impossible for you to just forget everything that I've just learned
No,
over the last 10 years about my team, and just I did everything for this team. I'm just going to go ahead and do it again with another team. I don't know. I would find that very hard. Almost,
I think I
impossible. Let's just put it that way. Possible.
I think I would do it. But then again, my friends tell me I'm famous for holding a grudge. So,
Okay, there you go. So,
so
see, every fan category would clearly be different. But yeah, it was interesting how it all went down. I didn't like the deep fake thing. Obviously, they put these guys into like really a dark setting most of the time, so they probably didn't have to spend as much money. They waited to the very end of the broadcast to put them together in the light. It's probably the most expensive part of their deep fake. Al Davis looked a lot better than Pete Rozelle. Pete Rozelle sounded like Joe Pesci in the voice he was using. Whoever it was that was using the voice, I mean, if you listen to it, it's funny. You could probably close your eyes and think it's Pesci. So I thought that was kind of funny. But then
I think I
it
told you before that I dated Joe Pesci's niece in high school.
oh, how'd that work out?
We didn't get married.
How's she doing? Follow that?
She's doing well. She's a successful accountant with 2 children,
Okay.
so she did okay with her. She didn't need me.
All right. Yeah. So actually, it was funny because I watching flipping the channels. Was it Lethal Weapon 2 when he was in the comedic role? And I had forgotten that he could be funny when you remember him for all the violent movies that he was
Hmm.
associated with. Uh,
Here's another thing we could talk about sometime. I don't. If it's a famous movie, odds are I've never seen it. I've never seen any of the Lethal Weapons. So
Goodfellas.
don't. Huh?
Goodfellas.
Nope.
Wow.
I am not a movie guy. We could do this all day. My friends sit here and do this with me.
So if
Guys,
I said shake the hand of Darth Vader, would you know who that is?
I know who Darth
Okay,
Vader is.
because
I
apparently
saw
Al Davis didn't know who Darth Vader was.
I saw the first Star Wars movie. I've never seen any of the other ones. I
That's good
hated
for
it.
you.
So,
You might
huh?
you should. Oh, you hated it. Okay,
I hated them. Hated them.
that's okay.
Uh,
We're all different in our
you see
ways.
this? You see this zero right
Uh,
here? That's how many Rocky movies I've seen.
wow. Jaws, dude. Seriously.
I'm telling you, I'm a
So
fascinated
you
by
just don't
movies.
like movies.
It's not that I don't like
Oh, come
movies.
on. It has to be that you don't like movies if
No,
you haven't
I
seen
watch
all
a
these
lot of movies.
movies.
I watch a lot of movies. I just have never seen the classics. I don't know why. I mean, I've seen a lot of dumb movies. I've seen like Paul Blart Mall Cop,
Why would you
but
watch the crap movies like that and then not look at historical great movies?
just what happens to be on when I'm free. I
Okay.
don't know. You know,
Oh,
like it's not like I'm opposed to watching them. It just for whatever reason, I have never seen it.
well, you've got a lot of
It
potential
drives a
movies
lot
you
of
can.
people crazy, so that's why I figured I'd bring it up. It's a very polarizing thing with people that for whatever reason, I've never seen most famous movies.
Okay, very, very
If
interesting.
you made a list of like 70 you have to see, I probably have seen 5 or 6.
Well, I mean, look, if you think about it, it's not like, hey, 2 billion people have seen, this certain movie. It's like there are more people who have not seen the classic movies than people who have seen it in this world. So I get it.
I saw the first Godfather movie. It was so I didn't bother watching any
Eh.
of the other ones. So,
Godfather movie was eh.
so
Godfather 2 was actually better. So
I didn't watch any
that's
of the
too
other
bad.
ones.
Yeah. All right,
So.
that's interesting. I'll have to. That's definitely something I'm never going to forget. So, but sports movies you've seen.
Yeah, most sports
Yeah,
movies I've
so
seen.
that's good. Is there a good sports movie you haven't seen?
The Natural.
You've never seen The Natural. Maybe the best
Never
sports
seen.
movie for baseball ever.
No, I'm a Field of Dreams guy, but no, I've never seen The Natural.
Why? Robert Redford, not your thing?
I've just never seen it. I don't know. I
Okay.
just never saw it. I would watch it if I had 2.5 hours free and it was on. I've never sought it out and never seen it. I don't know. Never seen it.
Did you see
I
Miracle?
like. Huh?
Miracle?
Yes, I've seen Miracle.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to get a little bit more modern, thinking
Yes.
it's probably the way
Sandlot,
you're going to go.
Sandlot, all the major leagues. Um, trying to think.
How about Hoosiers?
Hoosiers, I've seen.
Oh, okay.
Um, what's the one everybody always Bull Durham? I've seen.
Did you see Invincible?
So I did.
Okay.
Yep.
Well,
I've seen
you almost have to see like those
movies.
football movies. It's like a thing that you better watch those football movies.
Yeah, most sports movies
Yeah.
I have seen. Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah. The Natural would be the one I would say.
Natural would be the biggest one. Okay. Yeah, I can't remember if I could.
No, it's nothing against Redford. I loved All the President's Men for obvious reasons. So
I don't know if I could think of any bigger ones because Natural is at the top of baseball besides Field of Dreams. And hockey never really. You ever see Slapshot?
nope.
Ooh. Okay. That's okay because hockey is very hard to do well on film. I think Miracle did a good job.
It's excellent.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's Kurt Russell's a very good actor, very underrated. And then let's see, and then basketball, Hoosiers is definitely. I'm trying to think of any other great basketball movies.
There was the one that came out about Texas Western a couple years ago.
You saw that one?
Yeah, that was good.
That was pretty good. I like that one too. That one really made you think because if you didn't go through that time, you just didn't understand.
Right. Yeah.
And that was something else too.
Yeah.
Again, a different time. That's why but it is important. It's the kind of stuff that I think if I'm in college, I'm definitely and I'm teaching some sort of class that has anything remotely close to that topic. Watch this movie. It's an assignment.
Yep. 42 was excellent, I thought. Yep.
Well, yeah. Remember, we talked about the fact. Oh, I did find that movie, the HBO one, the Billy Crystal one.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to you can buy it online. But unfortunately, I guess unless you buy it online, those HBO deals you're not going to be able to get.
So it's nothing against movies. I just haven't seen them for whatever reason. So
Also, quickly, Deshaun Watson and Carson Wentz. So, Watson, here's the deal. And we talked about this last time with they could wind up stringing us out all the way into the summer, past the draft. Here's the deal. I know that I know everything that the front office is thinking about playing hardball, and you can't trade Deshaun Watson, et cetera, et cetera. But they are in a perfect situation where you have two teams, the Dolphins and the Jets. It's very rare you can get a couple of teams sitting there with all this draft capital that are the perfect partner for you. If you don't make the trade for Deshaun Watson with all of this, with these two teams sitting there to give you what you're never going to get from another team, if Watson after the draft decides I'm not playing, and you get nothing out of him and try to go back for somehow into the next year's draft, you're not getting the same, anywhere near the same value. So too bad that he's put you in this position, but you have better be smart and make the deal. You have to make the deal.
I agree with everything you said.
And Carson Wentz, pick a spot.
Indianapolis.
I know. That's just too logical. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the boring cliche pick. It's like, it's like picking the Lakers to win the NBA Finals, but yeah. I just it makes too much sense, right? I mean, Sirianni came from there. Frank Reich, obviously. Press Taylor's probably going to be there. They have the need. It makes too much sense not to do it.
I'm kind of surprised that when Sirianni went there, you would have thought that that's part of why it attracted both parties to Sirianni going there.
I would think that. I would think Sirianni thought that. I would think the Eagles thought that. But my guess would be neither one of them actually checked with Carson Wentz, and Carson Wentz doesn't want to play there anymore. My feeling, don't have this source, just kind of rumblings I've heard, speculation, is it's not even so much he just wants out of that city. He just
I don't blame him.
It's not
an
no
easy
coach
city.
is going to fix it. No owner is going to fix it. He doesn't want to play there anymore.
Okay.
So
and by the way, I should have. This will close our show, and that is the Belichick situation with Brady. I don't pay attention to any of that stuff. I'm not a Patriot fan, so I don't have to. But I think now, since Stafford's gone, I think now I think Bill Belichick. This should be, you know what? Brady's got his Super Bowl, whatever the case may be. I know this is not how he's thinking, but I just think, and I thought about this anyway beforehand, that they should start their rebuild. I think they've already kind of started their rebuild last year. They had a pretty good draft, some good young players. If anything, Brady winning a Super Bowl, look, okay, he bested you. Let's just say Belichick's got this ego and he didn't want to see Brady win and it affects his legacy. Well, you know what? Okay, if that's the case, well, Brady did just best you, and that's it. You're not going to catch up to him in that regard next year. It's not going to happen. So you know what you do? You turn it around. You say, no, well, he wanted to win a Super Bowl. Now we're in a rebuild, and we're taking this a little bit differently. So maybe, if anything, this pushes Bill Belichick to go into full rebuild mode.
I think that's where they're headed anyway. From talking to people around the league, Bill Belichick, and I think it is an ego thing. I don't think you were wrong to bring that up. I think he wants to prove he can win with another young quarterback. He doesn't want to just get some hired gun, Matt Ryan, Deshaun Watson, who he has to, the quarterback really lifted him over the top. If they didn't get Watson, they wouldn't have won. I think he wants to win with another guy he develops. So I do think that's where they're headed.
Ryan, that's it for the 2020 season covering the NFL, but that doesn't mean that's it because we have a lot to go over here in the coming months with free agency and the draft. So I know our next 3 shows, we're going to be staying local Northeast for you. We'll talk some Jets football, some Giants football, and some Philadelphia Eagles football over the next month. So look forward to doing that with you. And as we put an end to the 2020 season, our first doing this together. Just want to thank you for taking I know how busy you are as far as your schedule. So I want to thank you for taking your time to do this. And as our traffic grows, as I'm sure it will, I look forward to doing many more of these shows over the coming months and hopefully even years. And as the traffic grows, that means we'll be able to do even bigger and funner things. So I'm looking forward to that. And thanks for doing this. And I do appreciate it.
It was a fun year. Glad to have a space to rant about, you know?
That always helps, no question. All right, Ryan, thanks. We'll talk to you again in the next week or two.